Hey friends, welcome or welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be talking about why and how I decided to quit my job a year ago without having a secure backup plan. I had basically spent all my corporate life contemplating this decision before actually taking the leap. So I thought sharing my thought process might help you if you're considering leaving your job or making any big life decision for that matter. These are the points I will be talking about. As always, I'll put timestamps down below. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life when I was younger, but I did know whenever somebody asked me, I always said I do not want to work in an office. And it wasn't necessarily the office part, but it was that thought of having that corporate 9-to-5 employee life that I could just not imagine myself being in. Then I started to study economics after having spent a few years in the film industry and TV industry because I thought I wanted to study film producing. Then I decided against that though, and I studied economics. So I went the very traditional university route, and it became kind of more normal to me to do work in an office. And I started to do some internships and get some working student jobs. And I realized, well, it's kind of chill working in an office depending on the employer. So back then, my main motivation was to find an employer that has very chill rules and a chill atmosphere, so not working more than 40 hours, which is pretty normal in Germany, to be honest, but still there are some employers that require you to work a lot and don't really want you to take breaks and that kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, let's just get a chill employer and I will just live the chill employee life. I got a job at a big media company who also do television in Germany, and that was pretty fun, I guess, for a company job. And I still think the company is a great company, and for a corporate job, the job was totally fine. And I got kind of lucky because I started during COVID. Well, for me it was lucky because I could work from home all the time, so at least I actually did not have to do the office part of the office job. But still, the first 1 or 2 weeks of that job I cried all the time, between meetings, after work, on the weekend. I was so depressed. And it was not that the company was awful, not at all. The colleagues were nice, my boss was nice, the things that I had to do were kind of interesting, but I was just so sad because I felt like, is this gonna be my life now? Just working from the morning till the night, then being too tired to do anything afterwards, except maybe for watching TV, and then do the same thing all over again and just live for the weekends like everybody else seemed to be doing. So I started a side hustle from pretty much before I even started the job, to be honest, but I got into it more and more. But that side hustle, at least the first one, did not really make any money, but still I got into the mindset of entrepreneurship. So I think that kick-started the real process of me thinking that at some point I want to do my own thing. But of course I also had the fears that are probably holding you back as well. So I did not quit and I just stayed in that job until last year. I had kind of an epiphany because my private life changed significantly, and that kind of gave me a kick in the butt, I feel like, to realize that, holy shit, I do not want to be here. I need to quit, because when, if not now, I'm still in my 20s and I do not have any responsibilities whatsoever, like, kids or a mortgage or anything like that. I could just do whatever I want, basically. I would just have to make sure that I have a roof over my head and food on the table. So I quit. And I just knew at that point that first, I want to do my own thing. And second, I want to be in New York, because New York is my soul city and I just needed to go there again. And my job at the time didn't really allow for that, which was good because that gave me the final kick in the butt to say, okay, thank you for having me, but I'm out. So I quit. And that was pretty much a year ago. But before I actually had that epiphany, of course, I was facing a lot of fears and a lot of doubts whether I should actually quit, because I had a secure job. I earned not that much money, but I earned a good amount of money. It was still media industry, so, it's not consulting, but it was fine. And it was a chill job. And even after making the decision, even though I was 100% sure that it was the right decision, and I still am, the fears don't necessarily go away. Because first, there's the money fear. Having a secure corporate job gives you security. At least it feels like that. Then there was also the status or the embarrassment part, because I thought, what's gonna happen if I fail? Because my job at the company was not prestigious, but it was a cool company and my job sounded kind of cool. At least that's what I thought. So I had that status and I kind of gave that up for something very insecure. Unsecure. Even though I knew that I kind of wanted to do entrepreneurship, I did not really know what that even means. And I did not know if there was gonna be any success in it or if I was gonna fail and be embarrassed. And then there was a simple fear of not knowing where anything is gonna go, which is also very exciting. And I feel like this every day still, that I'm just so excited about not knowing, because it's kind of exciting, but it's also so scary to not know where I'm gonna be in 2 months or a year. And having a predefined path, like, the corporate ladder, is a lot more comfortable, I think, at least depending on the situation. But in general, it's a lot more comfortable than not knowing what's happening, where you need to go, where you want to go, and where you should go. But these fears are so normal, and I bet at least some of them you're feeling yourself. And I'm betting that these fears are the main reason holding you back from actually quitting. So here's how I fought these fears enough to have this epiphany and to actually go through with it. Tim Ferriss, a guy you might have heard of, he's the author of The 4-Hour Workweek, which is basically the Bible if you want to quit the 9-to-5 rat race. And he has that system or that technique of fear setting and conscious goal setting. And this fear setting is basically writing down the worst that can happen. Just you writing down your fears, aka asking you what is the worst that can happen. So, for example, if you say you want to quit your job, write down what are you scared of. For example, running out of money, being embarrassed if you fail, things like that. Then go one step further and ask yourself, okay, why is that a fear? For example, running out of money. Is it that you're just scared of not being able to afford getting your nails done anymore? Or is it the actual fear of not having a roof and food on your table because, for example, you don't have any savings? And this is probably the biggest or most relevant fear, but even there, ask yourself, do you have a support system? Do you have friends and family that when worst comes to worst, you can go to and sleep on their couch or ask for some money to lend? Or, just have a bank because your credit is good and go to the bank and ask for a loan. Or simply, especially if you have a good degree, which I guess you do if you went the corporate ladder kind of, lifestyle, and you always get a job, at least some job. And if that is working in a supermarket or waiting tables, which, is not a bad thing. I actually kind of prefer working these kind of jobs compared to, the boring corporate job. And usually you can always get a job like that. And even if you don't, ask yourself if you really do not have any backup plan, like your friends, your family, your bank, to fall back on. So write down all your fears: money, status, not knowing. Write down why you have these fears and how you can have a backup plan for all of these fears. And even if this is not helping you enough, what was the other thing that helped me a lot to make the decision and to get rid of the fear, or at least, shut down the fear enough to make the decision, was realizing that life is so short and time is the most valuable resource that we have, because time, compared to money, we cannot get back. Time just runs its course, or however you say it. And do you really want to spend the majority of your life doing something you don't like because you still spend 5 days of your 7-day week for about 40 years working on your job? So you only have the evenings and the weekends to live your life, if you even have the energy to live your life. Because many people who do the corporate thing and don't like the corporate job, because still, I'm not saying corporate jobs are bad, but if you don't identify with it and if you don't feel happy in it, chances are that your energy is being drained by this job. Meaning, in the evenings, all you can get yourself to do is watch Netflix, eat dinner, and go to bed. And on the weekends, probably the same thing. Maybe you'll meet some friends for a drink or go to the movies, which is fun, but is that really all you want? If it is, no judgment. For me, I knew that is not what I want. I want to make the most of my life, and for me that meant no corporate job. A book that also helps a lot with realizing the value of the time that we do have on this earth is 4,000 Weeks. It's a book by Oliver Berkman, who says that we, on average, have 4,000 weeks in our life. And if we realize that, if we put a number like that on the time that we have on this earth, it helps us to be aware of how infinite life actually is, and it helps us to make the most of the time we do have. Another book that for me was the most life-changing is Staring at the Sun. It's also about life and death, basically, and how many people, probably the majority of people, don't live their life to the fullest because basically they're scared, which does not make sense, because why are we here? We are here to live life and not to be scared of things, because we're gonna die anyways. And this, of course, depends on your situation. If you're independent, you have nothing to lose. If you have people that depend on you, there are still options. You maybe have to have a better backup plan and maybe have some more savings. But even then, write down your fears, write down your backup plans for every of these fears, and I'm sure you'll find a way. I can only tell you that ever since I quit my job, which was a totally fine job, every single day I'm so grateful for this experience. Even though I have trouble sleeping, I'm scared, and I can still not afford to get my nails done just yet, but I've never felt more alive. And I know this sounds kind of cheesy probably, but it's the truth. So I can only recommend you to do it if it feels right. Listen to your gut. That's always the best advice I think there is. Thank you so much for watching and Happy New Year. Rolling and rolling. Rolling, 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 rolling. Yeah. That's cold now. Contemplating this decision. Contemplating this decision. Contemplating this decision before.